This is my most favorite cactus
because of the name.
All the land. Yes, it is called.
Go snake! It's your birthday.
You don't need to justify why you like a plant.
What? You cut the roots off?
Oh my! How do I know if it's easy or hard when I'm just standing in the houseplant department? But it's very prickly, so you shouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Yes. So no, again, you shouldn't touch it.
But I want to see.
Welcome back to the Helpful Gardeners podcast. It's houseplant season.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
thriving. I have received 2 new houseplants for my house. Yeah.
Excellent.
I didn't buy them.
Oh, I stole them.
I stole them.
Excellent.
So I got 2 new houseplants for my house. I killed one in my office.
Are we going to have to do another tribute video?
Wasn't that amazing? If you haven't seen Houseplant Funeral, definitely recommend it. We talked about, it was such a good episode too.
It was a great episode.
We talked about when to give up on your houseplants. And then we did a eulogy for a houseplant that I had in my office. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe office houseplants are just not my jam.
Well, because they're office plants, not office house plants.
True. Yeah. I just have to enjoy them here, which, by the way, the houseplant department is thriving right now. It is full of all these really cool kinds of plants. You know, when you think about houseplants, you think of those more common ones like the monstera, right? The spider plant, like those really very common. You see them everywhere, houseplants, right? But what I'm seeing a lot of in the houseplant department is more of those uncommon, unique ones. And it really just goes to show how diverse the subject is.
The common ones are common for a reason. Mm-hmm. The other ones can be a little trickier. And I'm going to address it's a small elephant. It's not a big elephant in the room. But one of the best ways to tell that it's houseplant season is I'm drinking my coffee out of this mug. Not my Helpful Gardeners mug, because my Helpful Gardeners mug is busy propagating.
It's housing a houseplant.
Exactly.
Housing a specifically, what plant is that?
That is just a spider plant.
That is a spider plant.
Yeah, a variegated spider plant that had some babies, and the babies are now propagating, and the babies are having babies. And everything is going great with them, but I can't drink my coffee out of the mug because they're currently holding that.
Exactly. This is the stuff we give up for our houseplants. But today we wanted to kind of dive into some of the cool plants that we've been seeing around the greenhouse. Might inspire you to take a look around your local greenhouse and see what they've got going on. Because during houseplant season, now's the time. We're not focusing on our outdoor stuff right now. We're really focusing inside. And there's so many ways that you can incorporate plants in your life, whether it's home or we'll get into it, gifts, or if you're doing things at your office, or if you just want to enjoy them, go to a garden center and just be like, wow, let's learn something. Yep. So let's dive into it a little bit. The first one I really wanted to focus on was the snake plant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so fun fact, this was the first ever plant my mom got for her house. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really easy to care for plant. And in honor of Lunar New Year, we are now entering the year of the snake.
Excellent reference.
Right? Topical.
Yeah. What's your Lunar New Year animal?
Oh, okay. I'm really excited because I am a water monkey.
Oh, okay. You're a monkey, but you're a water.
I'm a water monkey. Do you know that there's elements attached to them?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what you are?
So I'm Aquarius, which is air, and I'm a tiger.
Oh, is that true? Hold on.
I'm an air tiger.
Okay. You are actually... Wait, you said tiger?
Yeah.
Water tiger.
I'm a water tiger.
So that's the thing. So every time the cycle goes around, it's attaching a different element to it. So for example, Brad is a goat.
Okay.
But he is a metal goat, which is the most amazing. I know. I'm like, if Brad ever made a rock band, he could be the metal goat or whatever. Off topic. This year is, I think it's the wood snake. I was curious. I didn't know if snake plants actually held any significance. Turns out, in Feng Shui, it's actually known to absorb negative energy and protect your home from bad luck. So there is significance and a really cool plant if you want to include it in your home this year.
And beginner level.
Yeah, I hear they're pretty easy to care for.
They're easy to care for. They're easy to propagate.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the cool thing about snake plant is this is one of the more common varieties where you'll see the darker green in the middle and then the more limey green on the outside. But there's ones that are all a solid color with sort of this really nice texture in the middle. There is the Latin Sansevieria. You'll also find varieties called the whale fin, which is just one big leaf. It literally looks like a whale fin.
I'm not a fan of those.
You don't like those? They're so cool.
Yeah.
You like a little bit more going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
I just, it's a bit too static.
Yeah.
It's a bit too static.
But you know what's cool about the snake plant is you can also get ones that are like bushy, but more like needle-like. So like not even the broad ones.
I've seen that.
Cool.
Those I don't mind. Again, there's more going on than just one big leaf. One big leaf. Okay, I was talking to our colleague and friend Nick about this. So snake plants are actually considered one of the best oxygenators. So what you were saying about air purifying, they're also incredible oxygenators. So snake plants are recommended to be kept in your bedroom.
Oh.
So at night, most photosynthesis reverses. Okay, so at night there's no light, the photosynthesis reverses, so the plants intake oxygen and push out CO2. Snake plants do not. Snake plants push out oxygen at night.
Oh, wow.
So snake plants, there's a palm. There's a list that just came out, and it's five plants. And Nick sent it to me, and it was the 5 plants that were the best oxygenators. And he said, "Have you heard about this?" And I said, "No, but I've heard about it." And he's like, "Why would these be the best oxygenators?" I'm like, "Gonna guess it's because they don't follow the protocols of photosynthesis, that they oxygenate at night as well, because there are other plants that oxygenate, but at night it changes, so it limits their oxygen production." They're hella good.
Wow.
Yeah. So snake plants are like...
It's like a lot of winning with this plant, I think.
Exactly. And it's It's
It's the year of the snake plant.
Go snake. It's your birthday.
Yeah, you get it once every 12 years, right? Okay, next up, we're going to go into the land of carnivorous plants.
Ooh, nom, 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 nom.
This one. Thanks, Peanut Gallery.
I got it.
So this one is called the pitcher plant, and you're most likely familiar with it. There's like a few common carnivorous plants, Venus flytrap, pitcher plant being some of the, and it's really cool. They have these little, they literally look like pitchers. The cool thing about these ones is they have structures that trap proteins, and then they use enzymes to break them down for nutrients. It's like a thing out of horror movies. It's so cool.
Yep.
What we found out before the show is that these actually grow naturally in bogs and in nutrient-deficient soil.
Yep.
So why is that again?
Because they get their nutrients from the food they eat. They're more used to not having water per se, but not having dry soil.
Right.
So ideally, you want to bottom feed them.
Okay.
So that means you have a plant like this. We'll get to this one in a second. It's sitting in a saucer. You pour the water in the saucer, and it pulls it up. Mm-hmm. And then people fertilize their plants, and that is a surefire way to kill them. Mm. So they want bugs. Now, when you live in a northern climate, bugs can be a little bit hard to come by in January.
Yeah.
So if you really are stuck, go to the pet store and buy baby crickets.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and just drop. They don't need a lot. They need a couple, 3, 4, max a month.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hear too that if you put that purified water in here, like don't use like, anything, I say dirty water, but you know what I mean? Like, just like regular water. Yeah. Just make sure that if you are filling your pitcher plants, to make sure that it is purified. Something to try for sure.
A plant isn't meant to eat.
Yeah, I know.
Like I think it's that whole thing in our brain that you're like, I saw a really cool video, by the way, before we go on to the next one. And you know how like, tons of videos of like certain bugs, like wasps and spiders, and they go on a Venus flytrap, and the Venus flytrap goes, "Gotcha!" Oh yeah. There's one that's a slug.
Ew.
And the slug is like, "Do," and the Venus flytrap is like, "Gotcha!" And the slug's like, "No, you don't."
I was gonna say, I was like, I can't imagine that digestion needed to get a slug.
But it just literally just squishes itself out, and the trap just. And actually, another thing a lot of people do with Venus flytraps because they get excited. So they're like a sensitive plant. If you tickle the mouth, they close. Yeah. Right, because they think it's a bug. So people tickle them all and they close, but they're not eating anything. So now the plant is expending energy but getting no nutrients. Yep. And that weakens them too. Then they go, "Oh my God, my plant is weak. I better fertilize it," which also weakens them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So you're just like. Maybe that's why people keep trying, because they're like, I don't know what's going on. And that's the thing. You think you have a black thumb at that point.
They are, I would say carnivorous plants are almost high difficulty.
Yeah.
I would say they're almost high difficulty. They want right conditions, lighting, moisture, food is very specific. There's a lot of moving parts going on with them, unlike El Snako.
180.
Exactly. Like, you're like, oh, I wanted it sometime. And it's like, it's okay, I got you found. Like, we just found them in an abandoned office right here at Golden Acre. And I say abandoned, the person doesn't work here anymore. And they left a snake plant behind, stuffed in a corner. Probably hasn't been cared for, I would say, in 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's not great, but it is far from dead.
I mean, it's still green.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to a really cool kind of plant. It's the philodendron.
I always think he sounds Irish.
Philodendron.
Philodendron.
I like that.
Sorry, they're not Irish as far as I know. But
I wish they were. Yeah, I was going to say, I wish they were native to Ireland, but they are not. But that is that one over there.
Hello, I'm Philodendron.
And I wish that we had a philodendron to kind of compare this to, because this one looks drastically different than other types of philodendron. I feel like philodendron is a very diverse category.
It's sought after, not necessarily as a big spectrum. People don't come in and they're like, oh, do you have I mean, some people do. Do you have philodendron? They'll take whatever. But some people are really looking for those unique or different or cyclical ones. And I loved what you said about this one earlier. So this one is called the Ring of Fire, by the way. Brandy is way better at show and tell than me. I'm just like, bring it over. I'm like, I will put it behind the rest of the...
Here, don't look at it.
Yeah. So you can look there. It's got some new growth coming up. But the thing I loved about what you said, so I looked at that and I was like, Ring of Fire, immediately thought of Johnny Cash, started singing to myself.
Yeah, you can't help it.
I was looking at the interesting variegation.
Yes.
I was like, oh, that's a really beautiful plant, actually. And then you were like, they look like flaming swords.
They do, though.
Yeah.
And this one is so cool. It's got some orange in it. And it's just like a really neat, narrow leaf that just pops right up, makes a nice statement. But some philodendrons, like the Pink Princess, is more of like a wider, circular kind of leaf. And you can get orange ones. You can get, and what's interesting, too, is that a lot of people compare philodendrons with monstera, because you can see some of them have fenestrations in the leaf.
So they have I can't remember what it's called, but technically only the monstera has the fenestration. Philodendrons do not have fenestration, though they have similar growth habits.
They do.
So,
yes, that's right. See, even like, you've been doing this for so long, and even like, we can get confused.
And I have to, when you said that, I had to, notice they didn't roll off my tongue.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I think that's what makes it, it makes it special.
Yeah.
Because people do get them mixed up and they do and they go, oh, what is that? And when you know it's a little bit special to you and you get to have like that little bit of pride.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally dig it. And this one, ever since you brought it upstairs, I've been looking at it, and then you said flaming sword, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to go back downstairs.
No, it's too cool.
Yeah. Mine, not yours.
Yeah, right. So that's the Ring of Fire philodendron. It's like the first time I've ever seen it. It's really cool. And
philodendrons, one of the things I do like about them is they can be a little tricky, but they're not hard.
Yeah.
They can be like, they're not as easy as, say, your pothos, like the ones that we mentioned at the beginning, pothos and spider plant, snake plant. We're going to keep referencing him. But they're certainly not up there with carnivorous.
Yeah.
So I find them good for, you've mastered your levels, you're pretty good with houseplants, you want to up your game slightly. Good intro level plant, I would say. Yeah,
I totally agree. And something very foliage forward. Yep. Like you're not buying it just for the flowers. You're buying it for the foliage interest it brings.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we're going to talk about this really cool plant because I cannot get over it. Okay, so it is huge. And this is what's called a tillandsia. So what's neat about this one is...
What? You cut the roots off?
Oh my gosh. There's magic. There's no soil. So tillandsias are also known as air plants. And this one is like, what is it also called? I always struggle with this name, an epiphyte. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, epiphyte.
So an epiphyte means that they grow on other plants, like tree trunks.
Yeah, orchids.
Orchids do the same thing.
Orchids are a very common epiphyte. Orchids are probably the most common epiphyte.
Yeah, and you can actually see some at the Calgary Zoo if you go into the greenhouse area.
Okay, yeah.
You can actually see a bunch of orchids growing on a tree. It is the coolest thing.
Well, that's why orchids don't like soil.
Aha.
They like slotted pots, and they like to be grown in a composty bark mulch, forest fines kind of thing.
Yep. So this is also part of the bromeliad family, which, if you're not familiar, bromeliads, I love the striking color of some of the bromeliads that we have downstairs, like bright purples and oranges, and just the flower that comes out of these big, broad leaves.
Yep.
Incredible.
A lot of times you see bromeliads, so a lot of people, they don't think they're familiar with them, and then you mention they're very common in office buildings and malls.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. You go to a mall and that's exactly what you see. But one of the things that we noticed before the show that we actually looked into before we got on here was why Tillandsia have this really interesting sort of white film on the leaves. And so we looked it up, and they're actually called trichomes, which are similar to tomato plants. If you see the little white fuzzies on a tomato plant stem, that's a trichome, and it's just a natural way for the plant to absorb water and nutrients, which is exactly what it is. And you also mentioned too, it's like a defense mechanism.
Yep, it's trichomes are a number of things. A lot of them have oils in them and whatnot. The hairy legs on our Alberta crocus.
Yeah.
They're prevalent in cannabis. Looking at the color of your trichome helps determine the maturity of your cannabis plant. So trichomes are way more than you think. I think most people do recognize them from tomatoes. But I mean, when you look at the tomato, you see the individual hairs.
Yeah.
When you look at that, you don't. It's a film.
Yeah, it looks like it's just been dusted.
I'd love to see that under a microscope because I'm willing to bet it also stops really small little bugs getting to them. Probably helps channel water, traps water, brings tons of incredible evolution to survive in a way that, you talk to somebody about a plant and you say 3 parts of a plant, the root, stem, leaf.
Yeah.
You're like, well, this has 1 part, leaf.
Like everything in gardening, everything has exceptions.
Yep. No absolutes in horticulture.
No, but on the difficulty scale, where would you put this one?
Depends on where you're listening from.
That's a good point, though, because we live in very dry Alberta.
Not great.
Not great.
Humid. So, East Coast, England, Mexico, going to do amazing.
Yeah.
I went into a store in Mexico that had them, and they were phenomenal. Just every nook and cranny, and just thriving. And I was talking to the woman who owned the shop. It was in a town of Soyalita. And she was there, and she's like, oh, yeah. We did, and I was like, how did you take care of them? Because we see our houseplant department dunking them.
Totally. A lot of spraying going on to make sure they stay moist.
And she's like, I do nothing. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I had one for a while. It did die. It didn't rot. I know some people can overwater and they can rot.
Yeah.
I got to say, I think mine went the other way.
Yeah.
Didn't get watered enough because it kind of, when you get those old like daffodil bulbs and you push them and they just go like a shell.
Yeah.
That was what mine did.
Exactly what happened.
I was like, oh, it's not looking so great. It's not. And I picked it up to look, and I was like, and I just give it a decent squeeze, gentle, and the base just filled.
So sad.
And I never replaced it. I should. A lot of times I'll do that if a plant dies that I really like. I don't always replace it with a like plant. I'll try my hand at something different.
Totally. I love that idea. And there's actually really cool types of Tillandsia. If you are like, I don't want to try this curly one anymore. Like there's different types that you can try. But what I get asked quite a bit downstairs is, do you have to grow them on things like tree trunks? Like what will they grow on? And I feel like you can grow it on anything. I've seen them like glued to like glued sounds so weird, but almost to like wood cookies, and then you can hang them on the wall. I've seen them in little terrariums with little like rocks on the bottom. So no, you don't have to grow them on trees.
No, you don't. You can. And then another great thing about them, and it was somebody here at Golden Acre, and they took a picture of theirs at their house. I've only ever seen them in bloom. I'm sure they do in Mexico all the time, but they actually flower. I've seen them in flower here, and that colleague had one at home that had flowered, and they took a picture of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so special.
Yeah, and mine never flowered for the time I had it, but probably because the poor thing was barely clinging to life. But I was misting, and I thought I was dunking it enough.
Yeah.
Clearly, I was not, and I can be a little too busy, and I'm sorry, but I thought I was dunking you enough. I wasn't. I ain't getting another one.
Exactly. So if you're looking for something a little more hands-off, then not quite the plant for you.
Yeah.
However, we do have plants that will work great for that. And I think the next one there, the little cactus.
Which one am I going for? This one?
Yeah.
I love this one.
This is my most favorite cactus
because of the name.
All the land. Yes, it is called because it's so true. Okay, when you look at that, what do you think of?
I mean, honestly, now that I know the name, I can't think of anything else.
Like it looks like a foot.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
how many toes you got on your foot? I got questions.
The three-toed sloth. Yeah. This one's called bunny ears.
Why don't we sell more of these at Easter?
I know. Okay, but here's the thing. Because it says bunny ears, but it's very prickly, so you shouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, no, again, you shouldn't touch it.
But I want to see.
No.
I want to. Okay, so unlike a traditional cactus, though, it doesn't have actual full spines.
No, it has little ones, though, doesn't it? Oh, gosh.
Okay, so this is one of those ones that would be...
Oh, it's in your finger.
Yeah. And that tiny, tiny little hairs. So this would be one of those obnoxious ones. Go off camera for a second.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Gone.
Okay, thank goodness.
So those are the little hairs. So it's not going to hurt you, but I'm sure if that falls on your hand, you're going to get an irritation.
Yeah,
you're going to get a rash.
Yeah, annoyed too.
So they're like bunny ears.
Yeah, exactly. Jokes on you.
Yeah.
However, it's an easier plant to take care of. It's very drought tolerant.
Yep.
So I think like when people get cactus is always one of those plants where it's like it's a great beginner plant. However, it's because they're very drought tolerant and they can withstand those drier climates. I feel like watering is probably the biggest issue that people run into with cactus.
100%. They water too much, and then they try and put it in the most blasted hot full sun area they can possibly find.
Yeah.
And the cactus is like, okay, this really sucks. I can handle that. I have a cactus at home. I put it outside in the summer, nice and warm. It wasn't in full sun. It got shade when the shade happened. It was doing great. Forgot about it, and we got a huge rainstorm.
Ooh.
Yeah, like its cover pot was full of water.
Yeah.
And it sat in that for about 24 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was... We're in Alberta, so anybody who is in Alberta can absolutely relate. If you're not in Alberta... When I first moved to Alberta, and it was like, oh, it's going to rain in the summer. And in Montreal, for example, you go outside in the summer rain and it's warm and it's steamy and you're like, this is beautiful. You go outside in the Calgary summer rain and you're like, I am going to get hypothermia.
It is very cold.
It's just brutal. There's no nice summer rain here.
No.
So I left my cactus out in that freezing cold rain.
Yeah.
Outside, so it got the sun, the overnight temperatures, sat in that water for 24 hours. Picked it up, dumped out the water, put it back in its pot, put it back on its shelf. It's doing great.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
But that's the thing is people are like, oh my God, it's going to... You don't... Best thing to do with the cactus is forget about them, and when you water them, flood them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, flood them and let them go. And the thing is with cactus, I think a lot of people do maybe get bored with them.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
All the other ones that we've mentioned, snake plants, philodendrons, like the philodendron we showed the new growth.
Yeah.
There's exciting stuff happening. Cactus can basically sit sedentary for like 2 years and you're like, hey, I'm pretty impressed. My cactus grew 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like if you need something in a corner that you don't really need to, focus on, then sure. But, that being said, there are a bunch of different types of cactus that you can get from what you said, the small needles to the long needles. Maybe not for, say you have like a young family in the house. Maybe that's not super ideal. But if you're just looking for a companion that's like very forgiving on the watering front, then this could definitely be for you. Okay, let's move on to Dracaena.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, another one that I think gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people, when they think Dracaenas, they think like just grasses in the middle of certain annual pots.
Yeah.
And then you bring out this bad boy.
Look how cool this Dracaena looks. It has everything. It has height. It has bush. It has different colors of green.
Yeah, I love the tri-variegation, and I really love the fact, and this appeals to my like weird brain, but I like that the variegation is in order.
Oh yeah, hey.
So other variegation, you look. Let's take this one. Chaos.
Yeah, it's sporadic for sure.
Get out of here, Philodendron. Get out of here with your chaos. This one is like light green, white, dark green.
Yeah, it's very uniform. 100%.
And it kind of twists. It's got structure. It's got depth. That's a 10 out of 10 plant for me.
Yeah. And it's, again, very foliage forward. What I love about Dracaena is that it is, again, a very diverse category.
Yep.
You can have very wide leaves all the way to like the needle thin Dracaena. This one, you can see leaves that go all the way down to the middle and right to the soil level. Whereas if you go down in our houseplant department, you'll find some Dracaena, big long tree trunks, and then they have these like little leaves at the top, kind of look like Sideshow Bob.
Yep. Yeah. I feel like I just put this directly in front of my face. I am not good with showing.
I didn't even notice either. But I mean, that's why I think it's such a cool plant. And okay, here's a really cool fact about the Dracaena. It comes from the Greek word Dracaena, which means female dragon. Which is why that's called the Dragon Tree series.
That is, okay, just winning all over the place. I think we have a winner today. I don't know. It's not a competition. You're winning. Yeah.
It's a very interesting plant, and I think can look really good in an office space or in your home if you're trying to fill up a certain space. I love it.
Again, I'd put it on level with like the philodendron.
Yeah.
They're not hard to grow. Okay. And I loved what you said there. You touched on something that actually I want to go back to because I think you really nailed it. People can come in and they can say, oh, can you show me your Dracaena? And you take them over and you go, look at this. And they're like, that's not what I'm talking about at all.
Right.
And they're looking for the tree or the grass. Or they have a total, because they went to a friend's house and they said, what's that? The friend said Dracaena. They want one. They come in and you show them that. And they're like, that's not. And I actually love that because what an expansion of a world in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
That they thought the Dracaena was this. Yeah. And they're like, that's it. That is a Dracaena. That is all there is for Dracaena. Imagine being the first time ever you've seen a dog.
Yeah.
And you see a dog and you go, oh my God, what is that? And you go, that's a dog. And then they go to the Humane Society and they're like, I would like a dog. And they bring out a Yorkshire Terrier, a Border Collie, and a Great Dane. You're like, what is that?
Yes. You're like, no. It looks like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that amount of variety in one plant, you killed it with that comment. I love that.
So when you go into the houseplant department and you are looking for Dracaena, most houseplant departments will try to have all the Dracaena together so that you can see that it is a family name, but there's just like the variation. So we weren't able to figure out what that one is, but it's kind of the same with ficus. Like ficus, you have the fiddly fig, which is these broad leaves. And then you have other types of tree ficus that have littler leaves. Like they're so different. So learning as much as you can before you go, good idea. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about this guy here. Okay, so this one is called, I just need to look this up because it's, okay, Crassula rossularis.
I don't know anything about that one.
I don't know either. Okay, so that's why I want to bring it up. I literally tried to look it up and I was just like, wow, this is a very like on its own kind of plant. What I love about it is that up until now, we've been talking about very foliage-based plants. But what I think we forget is that a lot of these plants will flower. And this one of them. What I love about this one is that it's got the green on the front, on the top, but then on the back side, it's got this beautiful sort of purple color. And then the little flowers come off of these pink stalks. And then they're just these itty bitty. And when a plant flowers, it's almost like victory dance time, right? Yeah.
When a tricky plant puts out new growth.
Yep.
Okay, that's photo time. I'm taking selfies with it. Or when a flowering plant puts out its blooms.
Oh my goodness.
And you're like, it's getting there. Like the amaryllis that I did over Christmas, I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, this isn't. And then it started moving, and then it just, and I was like, such a, not prideful, but accomplishment.
Yes,
Such a sense of accomplishment. I nailed it. And that one, so something very interesting. So Brandy picked out all of these plants. It was funny because 3 people looked at that plant specifically.
Yes.
And it's not the biggest.
No.
It's not even the showiest.
No, it's not.
You could argue. I don't know if it's because it's the only one that really had flowers.
Maybe.
That
That's
what
a
drew it in?
consideration
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it could be. Absolutely. I think people find plants for various different reasons. And obviously the flowers on a plant are not going to be forever. So if you're looking for a plant, like falling in love with the entire plant is always a good idea. But I mean, it's just like goes to show that a lot of these plants that we're talking about today, yes, they're a lot of foliage based, but there is a potential that if it is happy in the space, that you might be able to see some flowers.
There are specific clubs, Nelly, everywhere I've lived, specific soil blends, specific fertilizers for the African violet.
Yes.
For its flowers. And people keep it alive and they pinch them. And people brag, I had mine flowering continuously for 3 months, 4 months. Well,
Yeah.
and that's because it's a flowering one. So there's, again, I like what you said, though, fall in love with the entire plant.
Exactly. And talking about love, I want to talk about our final plant today. And it is the one that's directly in front of you.
Hey, I can actually, look, I'll do show and tell, and then I won't block my face.
I don't think it's possible with that one. It's very tiny. But this one's called the Sweetheart Hoya.
Yeah.
I love this one. And Hoya is another one of those species that has a lot of different kinds. There's like over 900 species of Hoya.
Yeah.
And this is the variegated one, so extra fancy. And it's like the epitome of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is coming up, and I loved what you said before we started the episode. What is special about the Hoya?
So one of the fun things you can do, and I had one, I'm pretty sure Jimmy killed it, knocked it over. It happens.
Jerk.
But I got it for Jenny as a Valentine's Day gift instead of flowers. And I took a pin and I carved our initials into it, like that old school heart on a tree where you've carved it in. And this will remain hard. It heals over, so it forms a callus, a scar. And it'll stay on the plant forever.
I love the sentiment of that.
And I think, and do you know something else? This is like absolutely not fun for anybody else, maybe, but it's definitely fun for us. Do you know something else about these?
No.
I'll tell you, and then I think you will remember.
Okay.
This was this type, not this one specifically. This type of plant was the very first plant live plant house plant we gave away on social media.
Oh my gosh, it was. You're right.
We did it on a Valentine's Day.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's a throwback for sure.
I know. I every time I see them, that's what I...
Yeah.
We should give away a Helpful Gardener's mug.
Oh, we could totally do that.
Perfect for your coffee and your propagation.
Okay, leave the logistics up to me and make sure you're tuned in to next episode because I think we're going to figure out how to give away a mug.
I think we have to do that. But yeah, I love these. They're fun, they're cute. But all Hoyas. Remember that one we had and it never made it on camera because we had it on a shelf at the back of the studio?
Yeah.
And it went nuts in the span of... So these are, we've mentioned it before, but if anybody's not looking, these are all grow lights around us. We installed them specifically. What was it, in 4 months? It must have put on 2 foot of growth.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and the Hoyas can move.
Yes. Okay, this is the coolest phenomenon out of a Hoya because there's 2 different types of movements. There is the phototropism, and then there's also the thigmotropism. And I don't know if these movements are specific to different kinds of Hoyas or if both of them respond the same way.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that I wouldn't know.
I don't know, but I have seen one move. I saw it on the internet and I actually saw it because I think what you were showing me before the show was that some of them move slowly depending on the time of day. However, some of them will move like before your eyes.
People have said it's creepy. So I stared at ours for quite a long time and it didn't move.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't. I was, you told me that. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, and it didn't move. So I don't know. Maybe it had stage fright or something.
Maybe we didn't have enough sun because phototropism is the one where a Hoya will move due to light, and then thigmotropism is the one where it's in response to touch.
Yeah.
So you have to actually physically touch it.
But you've seen that video, and I hope everybody else has too. It went viral a few years ago now, where the person set up a time lapse on their house plants. calatheas and philodendrons and monsteras and every kind of plant under the sun. And they set up a time lapse for 8 hours or 12 hours or something while the sun was there. The amount of movement. And that actually triggered me. So I've started looking at my houseplants now. And I've never seen them move. But I have noticed that their positions have changed slightly.
Oh.
And I'm like, isn't that interesting? So in the morning, the sun comes up obviously in the east, so that's this side of my living room, and I look at the plants, and then in the evening the sun goes down on the other side, so the light's coming in from the other window, and I have noticed some of them, their leaves have... if I didn't point it out, if I hadn't seen that video and I wasn't scrutinizing it, I wouldn't notice.
Wow.
But I'm literally scrutinizing, and it's not the spider plants. Spider plants like, I'm just doing my thing. But it's some of the other ones, and you can see these very, very like, oh, that leaf move. Like one of the leaves on my corn plant, it's like this facing east, and at the end of the day, there's just a slight bend in it.
That's amazing.
Thank God that person posted that video, because we all know plants move. We know they follow the sun. Sunflowers are famous for it. But you don't consider it with your houseplants.
No, not at all. That's gotten me thinking. You should look at your houseplants and see if they start moving. Yeah. That's a cool experiment to do in the winter.
Take a picture in the morning, take a picture at night, and do a spot the difference.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. But that was just sort of an overview of the kinds of plants. Obviously, like there's way more, but we just wanted to give you a look-see into how diverse plants can really be. And depending on your skill level or what you're looking to do with houseplants, that's why we want to get into sort of the consideration for buying plants. And this is what we'll end on, is just 5 considerations for buying plants, because it is houseplant season. And I mean, we've kind of covered quite a few things, depending on the textures or the kinds of lifestyle that you want to have with your houseplants. But the first thing that I want to talk about is suitable for your pets and family, because I don't think this is something that a lot of people consider enough.
No.
And recently, the reason why I got 2 new houseplants for my house was because Brad's coworker brought in a new kitty, and all of their plants were toxic to cats.
Yeah.
So
cats are the bad ones for it.
Yeah. And I found that there's a big limitation for plants that are suitable for cats.
Yeah.
So I ended up finding a Pachira, which is a money tree. Great. Gives them something to climb.
I believe palms. A lot of the palm trees.
Palms. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about this one, did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay, shout out. This is why. Yeah. He was waiting his time. So this one, how do you pronounce it?
I call it Calathea, but you call it Calathea.
Yep.
Yeah. So both ways.
Yep. Apparently these are great for pets. Always double check. Don't take our word for it. There can be, like we just said, there can be so many different varieties. One might be safe, one might not. So please always just do a little bit of research. We don't want anybody's kitty or doggo getting sick.
Exactly.
We're clearly plant nerds. If I had a plant in my house that I thought would potentially hurt Jimmy, see you later, plant.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I'll put it this way: Jimmy killed, when he was a puppy, a number of my plants, and I still have Jimmy.
Yeah.
You got to
that's why I have 2 new plants.
Yeah.
They kept the cat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You put a limit on things.
Yes.
But this is a great plant, relatively easy to grow. They stay at a pretty good height, interesting variegation.
Yeah.
So you're not just limited with, again, like Brandy said, the common spider plant.
Exactly.
Right? So absolutely, but always do just a smidge more research before you jump in with both feet.
And same with your kids. A cactus might not be suitable for a young family, just in case they get needles in their fingers or whatever the case may be. So that's another consideration.
Yep.
Number 2, environmental considerations. And this is something that we've talked about a lot on the podcast, but just kind of an overview of some of the things in your home that you want to keep in mind.
Yep. You want to do it. How much time you have. Okay, is your environment conducive to, you've got a plant, it's growing rapidly, it needs to be repotted, it needs a lot of water.
Right.
Do you have the time to give it the care it needs? Light. You're going to have to augment light. Is there too much light? Is there not enough light? Space. Some plants grow aggressively, some grow very slowly. Do you want a cactus, like you said, stick it on the shelf and be like, have at it? You get a monstera or a fiddle leaf fig and you're like, oh my God, it is rapidly outgrowing the space and I have nowhere else to put it. So You've got to consider that. I feel like there's more that I'm missing. Aesthetic value. But all of those considerations.
Okay, so number 3, cultural significance. This is something that I never really thought about.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, and it really made me think, Brandy, look outside yourself. Because like we mentioned at the top of the show, like the snake plant carries significance. It's meant to bring in positive vibes into the Lunar New Year, right? So if this is especially important if you're giving a gift, right? There are some plants out there that are significant towards funerals. So this is an interesting thing. The peace lily can be seen as like a great thing to be gifted at funerals because it is about peace and about, you know, like just the around death. It is a very like significant plant. However, some cultures, like the peace lily, is not a good thing to give.
Fair.
So I would definitely, if you're giving it as a gift, think about cultural significance first.
Yeah, and I'm English. What's my cultural significance? A rose? Like I've never considered that in my. If somebody gave me a plant, that would be. It's never been on my radar.
Yeah.
So you bringing that up has actually given me a different way to look at things and wonder. Oh, is this got deep meaning, no meaning, or is it offensive?
Yeah. Okay, number 4, health considerations aside from, you know, your pets, allergies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Brad's allergic to pollen. You said your sister's allergic to lilies? Or your sister-in-law?
No, Vicky.
Vicky is, yes.
I'll shout Vicky out. So my peace lily put out a baby. So I trimmed it off, stuck it in water, did a water propagation, put it in soil. It's doing great. And I love gifting plants to Vix. She's a big fan of getting all of my experiments and whatnot. And I was like, "Do you want a lily?" And she's like, "Oh, I love lilies, but I'm allergic to them." Oh. And I was like, "Okay, do you love the flower, and that's what makes it hard, or do you like that beautiful foliage, that shiny deep green?" And she was like, "Both. I love the foliage." And I was like, "Okay, well, get it. If it flowers, live head it."
Yeah.
Like, just cut the flower off before it pollens, because that's the part you're allergic to. And she was like, "Ooh, I would try that." So once it's fully established, because it just got repotted up relatively recently, once it's fully established, I'm going to give it to her and let her try it. But some plants, I have a big corn plant, okay? Beautiful plant, I love it. One thing it does, though, more than any of my other plants, it attracts dust like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I'm constantly having to clean it off. If you have a plant like that and you have a dust allergy, might not be a plant for you.
Yeah.
So allergies is a good something. I'm not allergic to any of that stuff, so I've never considered it.
No, same. Yeah. And maybe even sensitivity to smells could also be like, say, for example, the hyacinth can be
poof ball.
Yeah, by the way, okay, great segue. So we got hyacinth in the store. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you may remember an episode we did late last year where we talked about hyacinth and sort of in the fall bulbs episode. And I was curious if you could reduce the smell by bonsaiing a hyacinth. And so Colin didn't forget. So now we're going to do it next week and see if it actually works. I'm very curious. I kind of want to see it look like a poof.
I know. I'm thinking it's going to look like one of those poodle tails.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like I expect it to look like an allium. So we're going to see how it looks. Yeah, but I'm very curious to see if maybe not health consideration, but along the same lines, like if it is too overwhelming, but you love the look of the flower, like can you still enjoy it while getting less scentsy?
Yeah.
So another consideration. And the final consideration for buying plants and houseplants in particular, the difficulty level. And we've been talking about this the entire show, right?
Yeah.
So important.
Start easy and work up. Most people know what a spider plant looks like. They see it and they go, that's boring. And they go, but I want that. And they jump in. And we have a plant down here that we're keeping off to the side. I'm going to grab it. And I love this. I have one in my office. Okay, and this one here, so this, it's not hard to grow. It's an epipremnum, okay? Beautiful variegation, okay? And now I want to show you something with this plant. So this one is, I would say, between beginner and medium level.
Okay.
Really not that hard to grow. I've got one growing in my office. But the thing I wanted to show about that if you're not that comfortable with plants and you haven't tested on, you don't have a Colin in your life who's given you cuttings of his pothos and his spider plant babies and his lilies and everything else, and you want to come out of the gates and buy something, and we never... I think this is the only time we've ever talked about price on the show, and I'm literally using it to turn people off. We are not salespeople. This is why they lock us in a podcast studio. But this plant, 6-inch pot, is $70. Okay? I give you one of my spider plant babies. I pot it up for you. I know it's established, and it dies. Meh, try again. I'll give you another one. You come out of the gate, you spend $70 and it dies, you might be gun shy.
Yeah.
And we saw a plant. We were talking about plants before the show. And there was a monstera, it's variegated, a potted one. And I'm talking 6-inch, 4-inch potted, established. One of these plants can go up to $5,000.
Yep.
A cutting, not even propagated and established. A cutting that you have to do all of that work on can be $1,200.
I can't even imagine. I mean...
I'm pretty good with plants. I wouldn't spend that.
No.
I'd be... Because... I'm 90% sure I can keep it alive, right? Because anything can happen. I'm 90% sure that 10% on a $5,000 investment, that's a vacation.
Yeah.
That's a vacation. That's a beater, a bit of a beater, but that's a secondhand car.
Yeah.
Okay, that is good money. That's not, and again, these are not in any way, shape, or form sales tactics because I couldn't care less how many plants I've given away. But this one, striking, beautiful, relatively easy to take care of, $20.
Yeah.
So I like, you were the one who brought up the difficulty level, and I think that is so interesting to look at. Start small, build yourself up, get to your comfort zone. If $70 is nothing to you, go out and buy 3 of them.
Yeah.
Right? That's a personal metric. I would start with the $5, $7 easy to grow ones, see how my level is, and then I'd work my way up to the carnivorous plants.
Well, and you might be asking yourself, well, how do I know if it's easy or hard when I'm just standing in the houseplant department, right? We see you 100%. I go down there and I'm just like, I don't know. They all look like plants to me, right? And I really think that's when you got to lean on the advice of people who have already been there, right? And I know it can be like going to the greenhouse and you're just like, I just want to wander around and do my own thing and pick out what's pretty. And like, totally, that's my vibe too. But it really is helpful before you said exactly what you said, before you spend the money and the investment is just to really understand what you're getting into, figure out the care. I mean, what did we talk about today? Plants that survive on air, plants that don't need a lot of water. We talked about plants that need a lot of humidity. Yep. We talked about plants that are in the same family but look exactly like the polar opposites. We talked about low light plants, but these are like highlight plants.
Solid cheat code. Read the tags.
Yes, that is a very...
Read the tag and look at it and be honest and just be like, okay, Dracaena, lightly shaded, bright location, keep out of direct sunlight. Yeah. Most of us can do that in our homes. Water thoroughly, allow soil to dry out slightly before watering. That can be tricky to understand what it means. Always underwater, don't overwater. Fertilize bi-monthly. Every 2 weeks, give it a little shot of fertilizer. It's going to tell you the height. It's going to tell you the temperature range. These aren't laws. These are guidelines. If you can stick somewhat within that, you're probably going to be okay. Yeah. You're looking for easy ones, the ones you mentioned right off the bat. Spider plant, pothos, snake plant. Yeah. You want something easy to start with, go with those. Take cuttings. Propagate the babies. If one dies, you've got more to back you up. But, lean into it, get into it easy. And if money's no objective and you have $5,000 to spend on a variegated monstera, it's my birthday coming up really soon. just wanted to mention. But yeah, if you go to your budget level, your comfort level and whatnot. But find a plant nerd like us. There's always somebody giving something away for free.
Exactly. And I can promise you one thing. You're not going to get bored with houseplants. There's so much to choose from.
Like I said, which one? The Crassula Crassula clay?
We're still learning.
Yeah, you brought that one up and I was excited for you to talk about it because I was like, I got nothing.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've got nothing either. It's got flowers on it. Like, honestly, and that's
Purple,
fine too.
it's green, it's flowers.
Right? You don't need
Yeah.
to justify why you like a plant.
You do
Anyway,
not.
that wraps us up for this week. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, thank you so much for your support. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're sharing it to your friends and family so we can share the plant love, build this community. And next week, we're going to be diving a little bit more into houseplants. So if houseplants is your jam or you know somebody who's getting into houseplants, next week is also going to be a great episode because we're leaning into more of the care of houseplants. And as we are in the winter season, there's a lot that you can be doing with your houseplants. Dusting, for one. I know we talked about that earlier today. That's a really good chore. We're also going to talk about, things like repotting, just simple reminders and things that to consider when you are dealing with the diversity of houseplants. So good one to catch. That's all next week. But for now, go shopping.
Yeah.
We'll see you next weekend.
Have fun, everyone.
Bye.